Today, I want to tell you how a single species of bean can help save a country. But first, let's talk about Yemen, the world's worst humanitarian crisis, as declared by the UN. Over the past 9 years, Yemen has been in the midst of a civil war, and there have been some severe negative effects on the country's quality of life. There are now 24 million people in Yemen in need of some form of humanitarian assistance. That makes up a whopping 80% of the population. 2/3 of Yemen are unable to afford food, and there are now over 1 million recorded cholera cases, 25% of which are found in children. Yemen needs our help. But to best understand why Yemen is facing these issues, it's important to start back at the beginning of its civil war. In the spring of 2011, Ali Abdullah Saleh, who had been Yemen's president for 33 years, was forced out of power by a Yemeni revolution. In response to this, Saudi Arabia intervened to negotiate a deal that installed a new government in Yemen. This government was led by Saleh's vice president, Abdurabu Mansur Hadi, who was no different than Saleh in the eyes of Yemeni. In 2014, Yemen saw its second revolution, this time spearheaded by a minority from northern Yemen called the Houthis. The Houthis sided with Saleh and took control of Yemen's capital, Sana'a. This forced Hadi to flee to Saudi Arabia, where a coalition between Saudi Arabia and several other countries was formed. Since 2014, the Houthis and this coalition have been fighting both on the ground in Yemen and with airstrikes that have had devastating effects on Yemen's civilians. Now, how does this affect Yemen's agriculture? Within the ongoing civil war, we have seen the weaponization of fresh water, the displacement and loss of Yemeni agricultural workers, severe food insecurity, and the abandonment and loss of farmland. As food becomes scarcer and households are destroyed, most Yemeni families have turned towards subsistence farming in order to stay alive. But with Yemen's arid climate and lack of available fresh water, it's important that the right crop is chosen. Let me introduce you to the Tepary bean. The Tepary bean is a drought-tolerant and disease-resistant semi-bush legume. Indigenous to southwestern USA and northwestern Mexico, the Tepary bean is well suited for growth in severely arid climates and requires significantly less water than other crop commodities, such as the common bean. In fact, Tepary bean crop yield is known to be relatively unaffected by being grown in water-scarce environments, such as Yemen. The Tepary bean is best suited to grow in areas that receive a minimum of 40 centimeters of annual rainfall, or areas that receive up to a maximum of 170 centimeters. Some of the most densely populated areas of Yemen, along the western coast, fall into this annual rainfall category, meaning the Tepary bean is well suited for Yemen's climate. As well, as climate change continues to worsen, fresh water becomes even scarcer, and weather and climate become more unpredictable. There could be an increased occurrence of droughts. On top of its hardiness, the Tepary bean is highly nutritious. The bean itself contains large amounts of protein, up to 24% in each bean. And Tepary bean seed oil contains large quantities of healthy fatty acids and amino acids that are beneficial for human growth and development. This could greatly aid in lessening the rampant child malnutrition in Yemen. The Tepary bean is a drought-resistant and nutritious legume that is yet to be introduced to Yemen. If grown in Yemen, the Tepary bean could aid in the alleviation of food scarcity within the country due both to war and climate change, as the crop would be able to survive the country's arid and water-scarce climate. For more information on the Tepary bean and the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, please see the following sources.